Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel at NDN TV Nigeria. Click on the subscribe button and be the first to get notifications.
Interest groups in the Niger Delta have described as a bad omen for the Nigerian economy the increasing exodus of international oil companies, IOCs, from the country's oil and gas space. Reacting to the recent acquisition of ExxonMobil assets by indigenous oil major Seplat Energy, concerned Niger Deltans have raised fears that the region is faced with an uncertain future in an imminent post-oil and gas global economy.
Recently, Seplat Energy, a leading indigenous player in the Nigerian oil and gas industry, entered into an agreement with ExxonMobil Unlimited to acquire the American oil major's assets and business operations in a deal worth about $1.2 billion. In the agreement, Seplat will acquire ExxonMobil's 40% stake in 4 oil mining licenses comprising over 90 shallow water and onshore platforms. This development is shortly after Royal Dutch Shell in January 2022 announced that it had placed more of its onshore assets in Nigeria's oil belts on sale as part of its commitment to stop carbon emissions by the year 2050. In his reaction, Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC), Malam Mele Kyari said the IOCs were leaving not as a result of an unfriendly business climate in Nigeria, but on account of their commitment to fully comply with the global transition to clean energy. However, interest groups in the Niger Delta and other close industry watchers believe that the IOCs are moving on to safer investment destinations to avoid above-ground risk such as large-scale oil theft, pipeline vandalism, and inadequate regulation in the Nigerian petroleum industry. Executive Director of Youth Advocacy Center, Comrade Dunamene Fineface says, in selling off their assets, the IOCs are bent on reducing their operational costs in Nigeria.
The cost of operation is also one of the reasons why a lot of them are leaving. It's becoming difficult. The terrain is no longer very friendly for them to operate. And putting all this together is a very big challenge to some oil companies that are trying to break even.
The mass exodus of the IOCs from the oil fields of the Niger Delta is in spite of the enactment of the Petroleum Industry Act 2021 to make the Nigerian petroleum industry more attractive to local and foreign investors. Comrade Fineface insists that after many years of corruption and unstable operations in the industry, the Petroleum Industry Act is coming pretty late.
The bill spent well over 12 years in the National Assembly. A lot of companies have already reviewed their operations and they have already started the process of moving out of the country. That is why you see a lot of them now moving.
The international oil companies are leaving in their trail an ugly narrative of widespread environmental pollution, poverty and insecurity in the Niger Delta. Chairman, Coalition of Rivers Oil and Gas Host Communities, Barituka Luanye, and Director General of Ijowari, Somina Wokoma, are concerned that the IOCs are transferring assets and liabilities that most indigenous oil companies are not technically and financially equipped to manage.
They were even supposed to decommission some of their facilities before leaving. Who takes care of that? The farmlands that has been damaged, the aqua system that has been damaged, who takes care of that? So it's a well-calculated plan to shortchange the people of the Niger Delta.
Look at what happened at the OML 29. ATO was unable to bring down the disaster that engulfed the Santa Barbara Sea. They were unable because they don't have the adequate facility to do what Shell would have done. So these are the things the people of the region will be facing after making us dry.
For several decades, Nigeria has relied heavily on the petroleum industry for our economic survival. Throughout this period, the country has depended largely on international oil companies for production of its vast oil and gas resources due to inadequate funding and limited indigenous technical expertise in the petroleum industry. Unable to refine petroleum products for local consumption, Africa's biggest economy relies on massive importation of fuel at exorbitant costs that are subsidized for citizens. Undeterred by the economic burden of its subsidy scheme, The federal government of Nigeria recently announced that fuel subsidy will remain for the next 18 months, bringing a halt to implementation of the Petroleum Industry Act, which provides comprehensive reforms in the petroleum upstream and downstream sectors. Needless to say, these developments do not augur well for the Nigerian economy and indeed the economic future of the Niger Delta region in the ongoing global transition to renewable energy as a more sustainable source of economic production.
Inside the Niger Delta,